Every kid wanted a dribble glass to annoy their family with. I did. I didn't get to have one, but I have one now, so there, Mom. Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go.
Spokane was an 1890s mining boom town and had a renaissance in the 70s. All-American City in 1974, the first time. That was the World's Fair year. First time in 2 years that we've had an antique show here. We are driving behind a stadium to get to the parking for the pavilion where I am set up. I'm on the back wall as usual, but in a slightly different place. They've given me a 20-foot booth.
So I've got a big space here in Spokane, and it's a little different looking. It's certainly different from the space I had in Portland, and people say, well, how can you do 2 shows in 2 weeks and have anything different? But I'll tell you, I make a real effort. I spent about $600 shopping this week and found new stuff, and then I also went through all of my stock to see what other things might be more appropriate for Spokane, and I have some oddball stuff. Let's start with this, just because it came out nicely as a display. This is my section for Western, and I have this nice sort of rough brick to be up against, so it gave it a good look, I thought. I also brought a whole bunch of Ree Munoz prints. She's a very famous Alaskan artist who has passed on. The spots are from lamps. Sorry, I can't help that. This old trunk is neat. I had that at the last show. Nice and just beaten up and dilapidated enough. This little lamp, the boudoir lamp, came to me this week with the nice metal base in the orange, perfect for fall. Just got these. These are buckskin made dolls. These are actual Inuit from near the Arctic Circle dolls, and they are made of a bunch of natural materials, so they're pretty desirable. The Roadrunner is an Arizona artist on this nice burl here. This was probably done 30 years ago, I would say, and you see the Roadrunner on African zebra wood, or of African zebra wood on a manzanita root burl. HB is our maker. I do not know who that is. If it stays with me long enough, I'll try to do some research. The people I got it from actually were not sure either, even though they bought it. It had been too long for them to remember. Unfortunately, if we don't write these things down, sometimes they are lost to time. This Japanese silk from the 1950s, you can see, there we go, there's North and South Korea divided. This shows various companies that were occupying Japan and Korea, and some of the different infantry units as well. So that's kind of an interesting piece, probably worth about $30 to $35. I got this nice strawberry patterned carnival glass bowl last week. Did sell some carnival glass today already. I brought some Roseville, some nice Zephyr Lily. The whole teapot is a little bit unusual as whole pottery goes. You don't see a lot of those. And then these kangaroos are Rosemead pottery out of South Dakota, as it says on the tag. Very cute from the 1930s. Now, you saw some of these pieces last week, but I did add to the Art Deco with this cute nude who looks like she is wrestling with that linen. What else is new here? These carved figural napkin rings I thought were really neat. They are likely to be Henri. They don't have any marks that I can see other than their original sales prices. Now, believe it or not, tennis ball cans, especially if they're older and especially if they're full, can be collectible. These on the right are all full. Pancho Gonzalez is the celebrity on those. You should look those up if you haven't seen them. I mean, they're definitely not something to throw in the trash. Some of these can actually sell for big money depending on who the celebrity is on them. And older ones, of course, didn't have any celebrities, but they're neat in their own right. I got a little bit better display for the paper. This old Miracle Spandex Ed rack is able to hold quite a bit of paper and make it a little easier for people to sort through. Because I did bring a lot of paper ephemera. These just came to me. I think they're quite lovely. They're Crown Ducal from England, but this big flower frog is hard to find. And with the pink color and the exotic birds, which I think you can see a little bit better on the picture here, I just thought they were very sweet. They're 1920s. There is the Crown Ducal label. And then Bakelite. I got a bunch of Bakelite. I got a bunch of Bakelite jewelry specifically, including these really great squares. These are hard to find. They sell for about $100 each. These are a little more unusual as well in this sort of a tricorn shape. This is cool because this was actually meant to pick your straight pins up off a dresser. So it is Bakelite and it is a cup. You put it on your wrist and then just go over the metal stuff to attract the things that you wanted to attract. So it's a Pin Master wristlet, and they are collectible in their own right. Then this is really neat because it's almost like the kids' crib toys, but it's little Scotty dogs hanging off of it in bracelet form. This is a nice old stretch Bakelite, which is nice because a lot of Bakelite bangles are small for people, but that's something that'll fit a lot of other people too. And the one with the penguins, that's a good one. Also got this really neat dice clock. The clock works somewhat, it sort of starts and stops, but what a great piece of Bakelite that is. And then this one I believe is a makeup brush if I can get it open. And there's the brush coming out. I did get some additional dive watches. A couple of those sold already today. These are Bakelite. They are little tiny clothespins. Neat little set. And this, the Beauty Mate. Beauty Mate starts out as this set made in West Germany in the 50s with the Bakelite, but it all folds down to a lovely little heart. Isn't that cute? And then here's some Russian enameled pins painted in some happy bright colors that we don't usually see. The pink and the green fields are different. We usually see them on black. She's art, so I'm going to show her. This is a discontinued mark, a German company called Mitzendorf. German nude porcelains are very collectible, and I thought she was quite lovely. I have her priced about $145. This is Waterford. I have a second Waterford over here in this cabinet. I did not bring this cabinet to Portland. I've already given measurements on it, and I'm hoping they will buy it and take it home tomorrow. But this other decanter here is also with the pineapple cut. That is Waterford as well.
This is not a big.
And then this is Jeanette Glass. Sea Battle is an old Radio Shack that's electronic, and it does have everything it needs to work. So does this Science Fair Project Lab. And then we've got Spirograph, a classic. Look at those outfits. That definitely dates this. Stratego, Monopoly, Clue. I also had a really neat tool chest sitting here that's sold already for Mac Tools, along with a bunch of other of this theme. Actually, this is done very well, and it typically does do well in Eastern Washington. So what I have left of this stuff includes some interesting pieces. This is actually the spark plug out of a Baldwin locomotive. And look how much money it cost at one time, $1,800. Now it's just going to be somebody's novelty who collects railroad stuff. It'll probably sell for $100 or $200. But I haven't been able to find a comparable anywhere, because how many people have this thing? This is neat too. This is a carboy. That's what they call these big water bottles like you would use in a water dispenser. But this one is from New Mexico because it says Deming Water, and it's got the little rays coming out like the New Mexican flag. Big old never fail grinder. That would grind just about anything to pulp. Some interesting oilers with long stems, another copper funnel, a Coleman stove. These Coleman stoves are starting to really sell, and you'll see them cheaply at thrift stores and estate sales because a lot of people don't know that, so that's something to look for. Oh, somebody dropped a couple of spirograph wheels. Let's get those back in the box. And then, what else do we have? We have a letter slot from an old mailbox. If you're restoring an old house, that could be useful. This is the thing that clipped your rod onto a boat. So that's a fisherman's collectible there. Let me know if I can help you at all.
Oh, it's really good. Thank you.
This vase is Japanese from the 1930s. And this is a very distinctive style to them. This wasn't really them copying anybody. It's got a nice made in Japan mark on the bottom there. Interesting design with the birds. This is really cool. This is an old print, Seattle, the Bay from the Railroad Street Depot. This is before the fire of 1889, and this is an original one. So this one dates back to about the late 80s, early 90s. Now some of you will say, oh, you sold that. How did you end up with it again? Well, I found another one. I just sold the Chinese red sundial and by Hall Pottery from the 1930s. And I was very surprised to find another one right away and very happy. And then here's a very small glass lingerie washboard for doing your delicates. And it says crystal on the glass right there. You don't really see the little ones much at all. It's on top of my osterizer. I'll put this little gun over there. Let's see what else might be something that you haven't seen before. This lamp came from a friend of mine. It's just a fun color combination. This came from another friend of mine to sell, and this is the base from what appears to be a Greek Orthodox statue of some sort. I like the enameling and the bejeweling. I put the Madonnas on top because it was the only religious icon that I had here. The one on the right is Goebel. Some more of this Munoz. This is a really cute one, the mother and child print, and they are all signed and numbered. The masks here are all Zulu from South Africa, as are the statues of the gazelle and a kudu, and the shield. The treasure craft drummer is new to me. Obviously not new to me in a greater sense, since I started my collection with one and wrote the book based on that. But I haven't had that particular one before. Let's see what else we have here. We've got a nice pair of Fenton hobnail, large creamer and open sugar here. Let me get my hand out of the way so you can see it a little better. I'm going to start moving some things into the empty space because we've had a bunch of sales today. It's actually been pretty busy here in Spokane. We're just getting to the late afternoon close to close where we have a little bit of time. So that gives me a chance to show you a few things. This is a stamp box from the 1901 Pan American Exposition. So it was made of aluminum, which was still a big deal because 1901 is when they figured out how to make aluminum on a mass consumption basis. It's got nice etching, and the hole in the back is so you can push your little postage stamps out of there when you need one. This is back when a letter cost 3 cents to mail and a postcard was a penny. So you didn't need a whole lot of stamps. Here's the Hubley plastic handled 1960s era cap gun. They still had some of these running around when I was a kid. The set of 4 pinch side pieces here. I believe these are pilgrim glass because they're fairly straight-sided, even though the pontil does not have the waffle mark, which is a little confusing, but a bunch of companies made these. Blanco did them, but their dimples tended to be deeper and not as uniform as this. But I got a set of 4. And I always like having sets because people can buy them in sets. This little piece I thought was cool too. This is Viking glass. I just got this. And then there's also the cobalt blue and the red and the tangerine, which is what Blanco called their amberina. Notice how Blanco's amberina tends to be a lot of orange and then gradates low. Here's another Munoz with the blueberries and bluebirds. A bunch of various dolls, even a tiny Tears, which I've almost sold a couple of times today already. Cute little cake topper. This gal is just glad to be out of the box so her font can relax a little. And then this Blanco I have filled with, guess who? And then there was just a bunch of oddball little stuff that I threw in at the last minute just to have some oddball little stuff, and it's actually done pretty well. John F. Kennedy, the man for the 60s. J.R. Ewing, the man for the 80s. 1960s Bowling League, Love Is from the 70s. Little games. Those almost look like characters from Pogo. Come on in, my day was ruined anyway. That's nice. And then this is neat. This is a piece of the future because this is a piece of titanium used in the supersonic transport. I had a gal looking for aviation related things and she looked in all the paper and bought some stuff. I did not realize that she overlooked this. Darn. If you're a hillbilly drinking Olympia beer, well, this might be for you. And of course every kid wanted a Dribble Glass to annoy their family with. I did. I didn't get to have one, but I have one now, so there, Mom. One last thing that's new to me is this great old Chalkboard Slate that you could write whatever you were having sales on, and this particular one was furnished by Shipley's Women's Wear in Salem, Oregon. This looks like something from about 1930.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a quick break and thank you for watching this video. If you're enjoying it, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Also, please do subscribe because then you can click that bell to be notified of future videos. We have membership packages. There's a couple of different levels. We appreciate the support of our super fans who help us do extra bonus content. You can check that out by hitting the join button below or clicking the link in the description. And lastly, we want to ask you to check out our new channel, the Antique Nomad Live. That's live with an exclamation point, where we're doing additional content of a live nature, hauls, sales, bonus stuff. We'll have a lot of fun there too. So check us out here on the Antique Nomad and also on the Antique Nomad Live. Now let's get back to this video.
My neighbor Trent always gets cool stuff. And I wanted to show some of his off because he gets some things that I don't necessarily see in other places. He specializes in photography, and of course he looks for interesting images. So here you have a girl with a very nice looking, expensive European fashion doll. You've got a bunch of people under a waterfall here. These folks brought their dog for the picture. Nowadays that would seem commonplace, but that wasn't really done back then. Basketball players, 1921. A football team in 1919. Very early postage stamp album. A really cool old Moose fire screen. He just has a certain look that he gets. He also likes militaria. Look at this really interesting piece of trench art. It's not made out of a shell. This is actually done in France in 1918, and it is part of a propeller from an airplane turned into a picture frame. I've never seen that before. It's $100. That's really neat and unusual, and for an unusual piece of war-related art, I think that's actually a pretty good price. Here's Queen Mary from the Pendleton Roundup. Pendleton stuff is very popular in Washington and Oregon. And here's a nice 1920s color-tinted photo of Lake Blanche, Utah. So, really cool stuff. Here's another interesting early image. I'll try to get it where we don't get a lot of glare. This is a submarine. U.S. submarine built in 1912 to 1913. Look at all the guys riding on top of it. That is so fun. And I like this, and I have to admit, I think this isn't a bad deal either, because it's got the patriotic frame with USA at the top. And then, unfortunately, this is a gold star. And a gold star means that the person was killed in combat. So that makes this doubly interesting. And here's a neat old psychedelic poster. The glare is geometric, so I guess that helps. I don't know. But this is for Quicksilver Messenger Service, the Miller Blues Band, and a bunch of other people. Family Dog Presents, original from the 60s. And then we have Boxers, The Ring, with Joe Louis at the center. Joe Louis was perhaps the most famous early black sportsman because he was the world heavyweight champion. This is really cool. It's just painted on velvet or velveteen, but it's this Western motif curtain. He really gets neat stuff, and it's very much focused on the vibe of this part of the West. It's just really cool. Here's a Harrison Fisher print with the woman and her doughboy who has come back from the war to sweep her off her feet. Very sweet. Well, these folks certainly have a wonderful selection of old hotel wear. Nice heavy quality. Some has logos and labels and crests. It's a whole area of collecting of silver plate all of its own. This one's Reed and Barton from the Rice. Sometimes they're actually marked with the name of the institution they were for, and that makes it easy to identify. But there are good books, just like there are with Railroad China and that sort of thing. There are good books on hotel wear and good references online as well. But it's a fun area to collect. This one, for example, is the Speck from Portland, Oregon. So aren't we glad that somebody stole this stuff, because now we have it to enjoy instead of it all having been melted down. Now, I shouldn't say they stole it. A lot of this was sold as deaccessioning when hotels closed down and things like that. This gal is Julia C. Maxwell, and she is a silver pattern masher. And so that's why you see a lot of neat looking silver pieces here. Now, most of these are souvenirs. These are not pattern pieces, but look at the ornateness of the handle. When you start getting skylines on handles, you know those are going to be more spendy, because anything that took a lot of extra effort when it was new is going to reflect that in the price today. This one's really cute because it says birthday greetings in the bowl. Turn around here and you see this one. This fork says Montana. A whole bunch of salt cellars. This gal is out of the San Francisco area, and I haven't seen her at a show before, but wow, what an amazing selection she has of really nice tableware. Here's a nice Repoussé set of silver, and this particular one is sterling. And this is by Kirk. Kirk Repoussé is one of the most popular patterns.
So, yeah, but I think you should let me know anytime you know and text or call, and we'll talk. That's fine.
There are a lot of fine patterns here, a lot of really beautiful silver. I really enjoy silver personally, so to me this is a lot of fun. Some people look at it and they just see all the same, and I sure don't. I see all this wonderful variation between handles and patterns, American versus European. All of these sugar tongs have different designs on the handles and different tines. And she's just got rows and rows of variation in those. Really fun. And yes, for a well-dressed table, a necessity. Here are ice cream forks. This is a wonderful thing that you don't see a lot. In Victorian times, they did serve ice cream with forks in slabs. And they're just so cool. They're short and wide with a lot of tines. These are slotted spoons and various strainers for, some might be for jellies and jams and relishes. Here we have a bunch of lifters. Cries of London. Here's plate number 12. Hot spiced gingerbread smoking hot. So these are street vendors. Very cute. It shows various scenes of London. Here's another one that is round and round, 5 pence a pound. Well, for our cat lovers, this is an awfully cute pillow cover. And it's got texture too, something for the cat to scratch after you stuff it. I like the spelter. This is Milton. It's got a little bit of damage, but it's neat. And then this one is Shakespeare. $45 seems like a great price, even if there's slight imperfections. Let's see what she has on her optic lamp, $120. And it has the original box. The lens, 1921. Washington State University, her hero for freshman football. Here's one of the harder to find Vernon, California souvenir plates. This one's 1940s and it shows the Hollywood Bowl and Hollywood, and it has all sorts of printed signatures. It also shows the Brown Derby, Earl Carroll's Theater, Grumman's Chinese, and Ciro's on the Sunset Strip. And then there's all sorts of celebrity signatures in the margin. Whoever they could get to let them do it. Everybody from Barbara Stanwyck to Clark Gable to Wallace Beery, George Raft, Ray Milland, Eddie Cantor, a whole bunch of famous people. This is a neat thing. Advertising umbrellas were something that you saw from oil companies a lot, as well as farm machinery and implement companies. And this one is Phone 39 in Sprague, Washington. There's only about 300 people in Sprague now. They're almost always in this somewhat molded condition just from having been folded up for years. And they're usually priced about $225, as is this one. Here's a neat old wood cutout ready kilowatt, your electric servant, for $295. A little Durkin from Spokane, Washington. This is great. It's pre-prohibition and it's local interest and it's a flask and it's coated in leather and it's advertising. So it's pretty much everything you could want. There's Durkin stores, the little glass telling you their various locations. So neat little collection there. And here's some really neat auto badges and mascots as well, hood ornaments, flying winged women, and the moto meters where you could take a look. Here's Pacific Northwest with Buick on it. That's a very unusual one. That's why it's priced at $395. The famous Mack Bulldog at $150. And on the list of things that you wouldn't expect to see because they all got destroyed, here's the Skyrider kite from about 1960, another Cloudbuster kite from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Some really great blow molds. Happy Halloween. And look at this great die cut with the flowers and the car. And there's Durkin's Whiskeys and Wine again. Now, out of deference to any designs that might be copied, I will not get close to this dealer's fine jewelry and estate jewelry, but they have a giant display of it. There are some really good dealers here in Spokane. Swung vases are attracting people's attention. This one is $45. It's not Carnival, but this is from about 1915 or 1920. Here's a whole bunch of happy colors of Fenton hobnail, cranberry and green and yellow and blue. I showed a lot of these folks' space in Portland, but I want to show you a little bit more for Halloween's sake. Some really neat hard plastic candy containers. Love the witch on the rocket. Why have a broom when you can do that? Pirates Auto. Halloween stuff's just so much fun. And then the little owl nightlight for $95. Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media daily posts and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.